All right, young scholars. It looks like that second link I sent out is now working for everybody. All right, so I apologize yet again for having to do the class through Teams. Unfortunately, something came up at the last minute today. Rather than show up on campus at 4 o'clock and basically have you guys be in for a half hour, I figured just do it on Teams, and this way you guys can get done at a reasonable time, go grab dinner or whatever you need to do afterwards. So first I want to touch on the homework that was due. It looks like basically everybody did the restaurant homework. So there were only two real issues I saw. Most of you got 50 out of 50. Some of you got 45, some of you got 48. The primary issue was instead of changing false to not superior, so I took 2 points off for that, and using the wrong range when you do the average. So some of you included cells that had nothing in it, which affects the average, and as a result impacts all the other formulas. So it should have only been those 10 that are in the provided restaurant file. So I think it was 3 through 13 or 4 through 13. Some of you had like 3 through 15 or something like that. So I just took the 2 points, or maybe those were the 5 points off for that because it affected basically everything. So before we jump into today's, does anybody have any questions on that? Nobody? Oh, Jasleen? Okay, question?
Hi. So I had a question about can you go over again how to change the false into not superior?
Sure. So let's go back to that example, the surveys. So all you would do is use an if function. So whatever it was, C7 greater than 8. See where it says value of true, value of false after the comma? If you
Yeah.
just wanted it to say true or false, you could literally just do this. And it would show either true or false. Instead, we do superior for true. So we put that in quotes and then a comma, and then we have to say what is the false. So if we just left it like this, it would say false. Instead, we put not superior in quotes and then close it out.
Okay, thank you.
So in this example, because C7 is greater than 8, it's superior. If we say, is it greater than 11, it'll say not superior. The reason we go over this is because on the exam, instead of true or false, it'll say certain words, especially with the if statements we're going to use and ifs. So that's primarily the point of the first 4 classes with all this, assumptions and absolute cell references, because on the first exam, you have to do all this stuff. You're basically given a word problem and asked to make a bunch of formulas. So next week, we'll go over 2 more things for that. And then the 3rd, October 3rd, we'll go through literally a practice exam. And then you guys have your fall break on the 10th. And then on the 17th, you'll come in and do the exam. So there's 3 things we're going to go over today. Primarily VLOOKUP. Then we have a buy or make example, and then a build or do not build example. So VLOOKUP, there's nothing homework-wise associated with it, but I have to go over it because it's on the exams. So we'll go over VLOOKUP nearest match and VLOOKUP exact match. Then we'll go through the make or buy analysis of muffins. So the homework that's similar to this does brownies and just changes a few of the assumptions. And then there is a apartment calculator example, and then there's a homework similar to that. So unfortunately this time, both homeworks are equally involved. It's not like one is much easier than the other, like the first 2 weeks, but you'll see that when we go through it. All right, so first open up the VLOOKUP example that I provided on Blackboard. And like I said, there's no homework matched to this. It's just kind of, I'm going over some basic stuff in this. And then we'll go through the actual VLOOKUPs. So we went over the payment function last week, right? So within the payment function, the first parameter is your rate. That's your 6%, 23%, whatever it may be. The second parameter is your number of payment periods. So in this example, it's 15. Your third parameter is your present value. In this example, it's 1,500. In most of the examples I've given so far with it, we actually had to compute that, multiplying things, and you'll see that again today. So then here we just have, yes.
Is this the example?
Yes, so if you download the VLOOKUP file here.
Yeah, I downloaded that and it didn't come up as that file. It came up as like a credit card loan, I think. Oh, wait. Never mind. I have to scroll to the right.
Okay.
Thank you.
So click the one that says PMT count. That's the worksheet we're currently on. So you notice here in column B, I have Bob Dole, Ross Perot, Bill Nye, the science guy. All I'm doing with those is showing you how the alignments work. So Bob Dole is aligned left, Ross Perot is aligned center, and Bill Nye, the science guy, is aligned right. And then below here, we have some basic true or false functions. So this is how an if statement would look, like I showed before, if you just wanted it to be true or false. Like I said, some of our examples we've done and changed true to superior and false to not superior. But in some examples, you'll just use true or false. Like you said, on the exam, they want you to put certain words instead of true or false. So that's why I show you the example. So in this if statement, we're saying if B2 equals Ross Perot, then it's true. If not, then it's false. So what does B2 say? What does cell B2 say? Dalbert.
Hey, sorry, Professor, I'm confused.
What does cell B2 say here?
Ross Perot, true or false?
Yeah, so it says Ross Perot. So is it going to be true or false? We have if B2 equals Ross Perot, true, false. Who wants to help him out? Paul?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Sam?
It would be true.
It's going to say true. Because B2, this cell here, says Ross Perot. So we hit enter, it now says true. So if B2 equals Ross Perot, if it's true, we say true. If it's false, we say false. So cell B2 has Ross Perot in it, so it's true. And the one below it is false because we're asking if B3 equals Bob Dole. Well, Bob Dole is in B1. Bill Nye the Science Guy is in B3. So if I want to change this to make it true, what do I have to do? Gabby?
You would change B3 to Bob Dole.
I would change it to Bob Dole, which is in B1. And we make that simple change, and now it's true. Make sense? We've kind of gone over much more advanced if statements so far, but I wanted to show you the basic gists of it. So you notice here in column F, there's a bunch of numbers that randomly show up. So what I have set up is what's called a rand between function. Can anybody guess what a rand between function is just from the name? Gabby again.
It gives you a random number between those two numbers.
Yep. It's a random number generator, basically. So in this example, I have the rand between 1 and 100. So anytime you have it in the cell, it's going to randomly generate a number between 1 and 100. So I did it F1 through F25. And anytime you hit enter somewhere, like we did with these formulas here, true, true, and make a change to them, these numbers will also change. But the point of it was to just show you down the bottom here how to calculate count. Sum we have already done, average we've already done, min we've already done, and max we've already done. So max just gives you the highest value, min gives you the lowest value, average gives you the average of those 25 numbers, sum gives them the total of the numbers, and count just counts the numbers that you have in them. Next week, when we do strings, we'll show you how count works. It'll just count certain examples. There's a count if and a count ifs, just like there is a regular if and a regular ifs. So everybody pretty clear on that? Like I said, some of that we've already covered. I think the only thing new is the rand between and the count. All right, so next we're going to go over to the concat worksheet. And I'll show you guys how to do what is called concatenate. Does anybody know what concatenate means? Gabby, do you still have your hand up from before, or you know?
It combines whatever you want it to.
Yep. So in this case, we're using strings, because we're also using left, right, and middle function. So the left function takes the far most left piece of text from the selected cell. You'll notice in the example in cell C3 that it's left B1. You'll notice we can also take a number of letters. So if you scroll down to cell C10, we're doing left A1, comma 3 to get Bob out of Bob Dole. In this example, we're providing no number. So we're just getting the first letter from B1. So if I wanted to take all of happy from happy birthday, how would I set up my left function? Any guesses? Suraj, how would I get all of happy?
Could you repeat it?
So if I want to use the left function to get the entire word happy out of cell B1, what would I have to do?
You would select the happy birthday box.
Okay. And then what? That just gives us an H. What do I need to do now?
I'm not sure.
Haley?
You do comma 5?
Yep. See how it says left text, comma, num chars? That means number of characters. So we do comma 5 and then close that out. And it's 5 because there's 5 letters in happy. H, A, B, P, Y. So when I hit enter, the word happy shows up. Make sense? If I wanted to take he is from C1, I would do the same thing. C1, comma 5. And that gives us he is, because it counts the space. Does that make sense to everyone? So you use the left function when you want to take letters from the left-hand side. The opposite is the right function when you want to start from the right-hand side. So in this example, we're just doing one letter from cell C1. So it gives us the farthest most right letter, W. What if I wanted to take the word now out of C1? What would I do as my number of chars? One of the Drews. How about you guys? Clock in.
It's gonna be 3.
3, very good. So it's the 3 most letters from the right, W, O, and N. Gives us the word now. Now, if I want to do concatenate, he is now. You'll notice that looks a little screwy, right? There's no space in between he is and now. So then what would I change the now here to get the space? Chris?
4.
4, yep. So the 4 now gives us all 4 from the right, which includes the space between he is and now. And now you notice that cell B4, there's a space, and then the word now, And when we concatenate them together, it now says he is now with spaces between them. So this is one way to concatenate strings. Just simply put the ampersand in between them. I will show you another way momentarily. So then there's the mid function, which is completely different. Basically, the idea is left function, you're taking everything from the left. Right function, you're taking everything from the right. Mid function, you're taking as much as you need from the middle. So instead of just a cell you're taking from and a number, here there's a start number and then a number of characters. So you see the word hello here because we're selecting text from cell E1. We're starting with the first letter, which is the first letter of the cell, H, and we're going 5 letters. So we get all of hello. How would we set that up if we wanted the word how? From E1. We do a mid function. We select the text we're taking first. Then what's our start number if we want to start with how? Gabby again?
8 to 10.
8. So 8 is our start number. And then our number of characters? HOW, right? 3, right? So what happens when we click enter? We get the word how. So how did Gabby calculate that it's 8? Well, you literally just count. H is 1, E is 2, the first L is 3, the second L is 4, the O is 5, the comma is 6, the space is 7, the second H is 8. That's why a lot of people tend to use left and right a lot more than mid, but mid is useful when you want to grab something from the middle of a file. So here below, you just see in C10, C11, C12, C13, C15, there's formulas already set up for you. So we're taking Bob from A1 using the left function. We're taking is now from C1 using the right function. And you'll notice I use 7 parameters because we're taking the 2 spaces. The one between he is and the one between is now in order to get a space between Bob is now. And here we have the mid function using D1. Technically, you could have also used the left function there. Done the same thing. But I just wanted to show you again how to use the mid function. And then here is the other way you can use the concatenate formula. So it simply equals concat, open parentheses, and then all of your cells you're combining with commas in between. So if we do this again, off to the side here, and we could combine B3, B4, and B6, we'll get he is now, he is now. And then down the bottom here in cell C5, the same as the other example I gave you, where we're using ampersand to combine 2 cells. In this instance, E1, where we say, hello, how are you? And C13. Bob is now 90 years old. So does that make sense? Again, there's no homework on this, just important to know. May make life easier on you going forward. All right, so now we'll go over to the and/or worksheet. And I think we've gone over and examples in class. So and you use to test two things. So in this case, we're testing whether B2 is greater than and equal to 6. And you'll see all the results. True because 6 is equal to 6. True because 8 is greater than 6, etc. with the 7, 9, and 10. And then we go over here. H, we're testing to see if 9 equals 9. So the only one that's true is right here because G10 equals 9. Then another example with less than 3, and another example with greater than 8. So you'll notice only 9 and 10 in that example are true, and only 1 and 2 are less than 3. Then when we test ORs, it's one or the other. So in this example, we're testing this number here in G column. Is it greater than 1 or less than 6? So all of them are true because every number is either greater than 1 or less than 6. And then in column A, we do the same, but we're testing for greater than 11 or less than 3. So you'll notice only 2 of them are true because only 2 of them are less than 3. None of them are greater than 11. Simple enough, right? Okay, so now we'll jump into the important stuff here. So like I said, the VLOOKUP, you need to know for that first exam. So we'll start with VLOOKUP nearest match first. So the point of a nearest match is exactly that, to find information that gives you the nearest match. So here we have quantity, unit price, total. So let's say you have 35. So that's in between 10 and 50, right? So VLOOKUP gives us the nearest match of the unit price. Now, the way you should be easily able to determine which one is a nearest match and which one is an exact match by looking at the table you're provided. So in this example, we have 0, 10, 50, 100, 200. Well, what if we need a number that's in between them? Well, nearest match. And then you'll see here when we get to the exact match, usually you're looking for an exact piece of information. So in the exact match, it's payment type. So how do we compute or use our VLOOKUP formula? So down in cell B19, you see it here. Equals VLOOKUP. The first parameter is what we're looking up. In this instance, B18. Then it's the absolute of our cell range. So here, our cell range is A6 through C10, and you make it an absolute. Do not include the headers for the columns of the table. Then the third parameter is the number of columns we need for information. So in this example, We're looking for the price based on the quantity we're given. So we only need these two columns. Make sense? We don't care about the total because it's not helping us finding any information. So the third parameter is 2 for the number of columns we need to use. And then the last parameter is our true or false. For a nearest match, you always want the last parameter to be 1 for true. What that tells VLOOKUP is that it has to look through the entire table or the whatever range you've highlighted. In this example, the 2 columns. It has to go through all of it until it finds the answer. Whereas the exact match, I'll show you momentarily, we want it to stop as soon as it finds the exact answer. Nearest match, it keeps going until it finds what we're looking for. So you have examples here on the side, 5, 15, 59, 89, 145, and 160. And you'll notice in the columns below that there's empty spots here and highlighted yellow spots there. So I want you guys to try right now to, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 examples. Go through and test out the VLOOKUP. See if you can get the answers below, 20, 18, 16, 16, 13, and 13. And who haven't I called on? Johnny, how do we do for 5?
So it would be E18 or yeah, E18
Okay. So
or
equals
yeah,
VLOOKUP.
VLOOKUP E18.
Help if I spelled it right. E18. And then what? We have to highlight our table, right? And make sure that it's absolute. And then how many columns do we need?
Four.
Why would we need 4 columns? In this table, we only have 3 columns of info, but we only need 2, right? The quantity and the unit price. And then for the last parameter, like I said, it's always true for approximate or nearest match, which is a 1. And that's how our formula is supposed to look. So why did you think there were 4 columns? I'm confused by that.
I think I read it wrong.
Okay. So we hit enter. You have the 20 there, and you'll notice right below it that it already had the answer for you in those highlighted yellow cells. So to find the answer for the other 5, you could simply autofill the formula over, and it will just change E18 to E19, or F18 rather, G18, H18, I18, and J18. Again, that's the whole point of the absolutes. Notice how it only changed the 1 parameter we needed it changed. The other bonus is, let's say we change this 5 to 82. Okay? It changes the entire answer to that formula because we set the formula up correct. And that's the whole point of the assumptions and the absolutes, so that you can literally just change one cell and everything else changes as you need it to. Okay. So the exact match literally just has you look for information. So you notice here it's more defined information. Credit card, student loan, car loan, mortgage, personal loan, interest rates, number of payments, present value, and payment. So with an exact match, you're looking up an exact item. So in this example here, we're looking up car loan. So you notice it's the same basic way of doing things. VLOOKUP, B20, we highlight our range. In this case, it's A6 through E10. But in this case, we want to find the payment. So the payment is in the last column, the fifth column. So we have to use all 5 columns. So our third parameter here is 5. And then, like I said, the last parameter is either true or false. With exact matches, it's always false. So this way it can go through the entire table, or excuse me. So it goes through the table, finds what you're looking for, and then stops. So here, car loan would stop on cell E8, and it doesn't even look at mortgage or personal loan. Whereas the nearest match, it looks through the entire table to try and find the info. So go ahead and try credit card, student loan, mortgage, and personal loan. And I'll call on somebody to do credit card. Jackie,
Hi.
hello.
1 second, I'm still doing it. So
Okay.
VLOOKUP. So you would type VLOOKUP and then get the credit card, like, so D20.
So it would be D20, and then what?
And then you highlight the entire table.
Highlight the entire table. Make sure you do not select the headers.
Oh, okay.
And make sure that is
And then you,
absolute.
yep. So you do the absolute values. Then you also put 5 for 5
5.
columns.
We're looking for payment, so we need all 5 columns.
Okay, and then you put 0 for it to be false.
Yep. And then you close it out, and when you hit enter, you get the same exact formula and answer as the yellow highlighted box below.
Got it.
You can autofill that over. So what would we do if we wanted to find the present value for the credit card?
You would do 4 columns instead of 5?
Yep. Everybody see what we did there? If we decided instead to look up the present value instead of the payment, we changed that 5 to a 4. What if I just wanted the number of payments?
Would it be 5 columns?
No, payment is in the last column. We want number of payments, so what would we do?
Wouldn't you just
Oh,
highlight
three.
the first 3
Would it be
columns?
3?
3 columns.
Oh, my bad. I said payment.
Now it gives us the 15. If we would just wanted rate, then we change that to 2. Now, why does it give us 0.23? because that's the same as 23%.
Or are we doing false for this one instead of true?
False, it literally will go through the table, and once it finds what we're looking for, it stops. Whereas the exact match, it will go through the entire, or the nearest match, has to go through the entire table to actually find the nearest match. Because this you may not have in order sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So this might be, 5, 0, 10 instead of, because if you have a quantity of 0, how do you have a unit price? So sometimes these may be a little mixed up in a table. Whereas the exact literally will stop. Okay, credit card. All right, we found the rate. Okay, we're done. Okay, so are there any any other questions with the VLOOKUP? Like I said, there's no homework associated with this, but you should definitely know how to do each of the VLOOKUPs for homework, or for the exam rather. And concat we'll touch on more next week with the string work we do. Okay, so next, let's do the make or buy analysis, which says muffins. So we're going to decide whether we want to get into the business of selling muffins. You're going to determine whether or not you should buy or make them yourselves. The spreadsheet helps you determine whether or not. So we have the assumptions below. Like I said, this is set up so on the homework, when you change it, you literally can just change the number based on what the homework says. I think the homework is brownies, and a lot of these might be a little smaller. So it says it takes 30 ounces of ingredients to make one muffin. However, when you buy in bulk, you receive discounts described below. So here we have the 30 ounces in cell N22. Here we have a table. So on the exam, you might have something very similar to this. You would use this as a nearest match VLOOKUP, and you would take out the second parameter like that when you posted it into your exam. But here we're not going to use a VLOOKUP, so we can leave it like this. Labor costs you $15 an hour. It takes 1 minute to make one muffin. So you have $15 there. We also put it here. Muffins per hour, 60, because we're making one a minute. And wage, $15 there, cell C13. You're going to need to purchase equipment for this venture. You decide to buy 20 muffin trays at $9 each. So here's our 20, here's our 9. We'll use that when we get to our payment function. Additionally, you decide to buy a new oven, mixer, and cooling racks, all using your Home Depot credit card. The oven costs $11,000, the mixer costs $399, the cooling racks cost you $1,000. So $11,000, $399, $1,000. You'll pay off the Home Depot card in 1 year with 12 monthly payments at the credit card's interest rate of 23%. So 12 and 23 here. However, I say regardless of how many muffins you make, add the cost of 1 month of loan payments, i.e. 13 instead of 12. Just to be cute, because it's muffins, I did a baker's dozen, which is 13. So you notice 13 is in that cell. It costs you 50 cents for each muffin you buy if you order less than 10,000 muffins. It costs you 35 cents for each muffin you buy if you order more than 10,000 muffins. So I'm sure you guys have learned in life, if you buy something in bulk, there's usually a little bit of a discount. So we have our 50 cents there and our 35 cents there. Then it says the bakery charges you 7 cents for tax on each muffin up until 1,000. If your order produces more than 1,000 in tax, the bakery will charge you a flat tax of 1,000. The bakery charges you to store the muffins. You are charged 25 cents per muffin. If your order is less than 12,000 muffins, and 15 cents if you purchase over 12,000. So here we have the 25 cents, the 15 cents, and the 12,000. All right, so in order to calculate whether or not we want to make or buy our muffins, when we make them, we need to calculate our ingredients, our labor, and our equipment costs. So who has a guess on how we calculate ingredients? Give you a hint. Use this info. What do I need first? I need our ingredients. There's 30 ounces here. So first we have to calculate by multiplying that 30 ounces, which is N22. Make it an absolute so we can autofill our formula. And in this instance, we're multiplying it by B2. So when we close that out, does that give us money, an amount, or a number of ingredients? Let's see. Aaron,
Yeah.
does that give us a money amount or an ingredients amount?
That'll give us the money or money account or money amount.
Are you sure?
No.
No? It'll give us our amount of ingredients. So the N22 is 30 ounces.
Oh.
And the 5,000 is our number of muffins. So it'll tell us how many ounces we need. So when we hit enter, even though it has a dollar sign in front, it's 150,000 ounces. So we scroll down to our table here, quantity in ounces. So we got the highest one in this first example. So now it's going to be cost per ounce is 3 cents, which is in cell D24. So we go back into that first formula and now multiply this by D24. Now we have an amount of money. So that 150,000 ounces of muffin batter, let's say, cost us 4,500 bucks. So now what do we do for the next one? Well, let's make life easier for us. Let's autofill the formula across, and for each of them, get rid of what you're multiplying. Okay, so now we have 450,000 ounces of muffin batter. So we scroll down, and what cell is that? That it's equal to, who hasn't been called on yet? Jay.
Can you repeat the question, Professor?
So we have 450,000 ounces of muffin batter. Which one do we multiply it from the table here?
The third one.
This one here.
D26. Yeah.
D26. So we go back to our formula in C3 and multiply that by D26. So now that costs us twice as much. Even though it's a penny cheaper, we're having 3 times as many muffins. So how about for the last two? 750,000 ounces and 1.5 million ounces. Gabby, we haven't heard from you in a couple of minutes.
I was gonna say times D28 for both of them.
Yep. Because both of them are over 600,001 ounces. So they're both multiplied by 1 cent in D28. And notice why VLOOKUP, would be better, because VLOOKUP would literally do all that for you. So both of them, D3 and E3, are multiplied by D28, 7,500, 1,500. Simple enough. All right, how do we calculate labor? It's the same no matter, well, the formula is the same no matter how many muffins you make, which should give you a clue. Let's see. Maddie, what would the first parameter we need to use in labor be?
Would it be 15?
Yep, the $15.
Okay.
So we'll do C13 and make it an absolute so we can autofill it over. Well, we need to multiply the $15 by something because that's $15 an hour. So what do we multiply it by?
Would it be multiplied by the 25,000?
The 25,000?
I'm not sure.
First, we have to take our number of muffins. So for this one, it's 5,000 divided by the number of muffins we can make in an hour, which is in C12, 60. Remember we said in the assumptions down here somewhere, there it is. It takes 1 minute to make one muffin.
Yeah.
So we changed the C12 to an absolute and then close that out. This way, when we autofill it over, the only thing that changes is B2 to C2, D2, and E2. Everything else stays the same, so our formula is good to go. So everybody got that? It's the $15 per hour times our number of muffins divided by our 60 muffins we can make in an hour. And you put them inside the parentheses due to order of operations. So when you hit enter, you have $1,250. You autofill it across. And as I'm sure you understand, the more muffins you make, the more it costs. This is why a lot of startup businesses will basically have themselves as employees and, like maybe having family members help out. So this way they don't have to Whoa, what happened? This way they don't have to pay as much as they probably should, because they're just friends. All right, for equipment, what formula did we go over last week and a little bit earlier that we want to use to calculate equipment?
VLOOKUP?
VLOOKUP? No. The other one, hit 3 letters. Who's got a hand raised? Owen?
Is it the and formula?
No. Yeah, we're dealing with money. Owen again?
No, that was just from before.
So what functions have we dealt with that deal with money? Present value and what else? Allie, do you know?
I'm not sure.
Payment function, the PMT. Formulas, financial. PMT. So our rate is our interest rate, which is down here in N35. Make it an absolute, just so we can autofill the formula over. Because it's literally going to be the same cost for the equipment, no matter how many muffins we make. What is our N per? Remember I said our baker's dozen, 13, down there in cell M36. Make that also an absolute. Now our present value for this is a little tricky to compute because we have to combine a bunch of different things. So we need our 11,000 for our muffins, which is an L34, plus our $3.99 for whatever it was. And then our 1,000 for the cooling racks. But we also need to add our 20 times 9 for the other equipment. So that would be M32 times N32. Okay. So now that you have all 5 of them in there, make them all absolutes. So this one, when we autofill the formula over, nothing gets screwy and nothing is changed because the equipment will cost the same for everything. Phew. Okay. So everybody's got the present value? We're adding the 11,000 for the oven, plus the $3.99 for whatever that was, mixer, I think. Then the 1,000 for the cooling racks, and then adding it, the 20 times the 9 for the other item. So N35 absolute for the rate, M36 absolute for the N per, the number of payments. And again, the present value is those 5 numbers combined. All right, so can I click OK, or should I go through the present value again?
Quick question.
Okay.
So is the present value like all the money you spend pretty much buying the equipment then?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
And then the rate and number of payments basically tells you what it is with the interest. So because you're taking a year to pay it, there may be interest added onto it. So you see here, the present value says that it's 12,573.
Yeah.
But then when you click OK, it gives you a 3,000.
What does it mean when it's negative?
So that's just accounting terms. Like basically you owe that, like that's what you'd pay each of those 13 payments. So in accounting terms, that should usually be red. And literally all we're just going to do below here in B6 is just do equals negative sign and B5 to make it positive. As you'll see in the total, we're adding just positive numbers.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So back into cell B5, you can autofill that across. It's the same for all of them. And then for B6, you can also do the same. Autofill them across. It's the same for all of them. So to make 5,000 muffins, it's going to cost us a little under $9,000. It's almost twice as much. For 15,000 muffins, it's a little under 16,000. For 25,000 muffins, it's a little under 17,000. And for 50,000 muffins, it's a little under 31,000. So you notice all those basically, you know.
Professor,
Yes.
how did you get the positive number for the one below it?
So you just do equals and then the negative sign, the minus sign, and then select B5. Like this. Equals, negative sign, B5, then enter, and then click back into it and autofill across.
This might be a dumb question, but why do we have why are there 2 lines for equipment?
So in the total, I did B3 plus B4 plus B6. So on the homework, you could just put a negative in front of PMT and just add the 3 together. That's fine.
Okay, perfect.
Sorry,
Thank
can you go over that one more time?
Which part?
How to get the positive under the equipment?
Sure. So in cell B6, just type equals and then a minus sign and select cell B5.
Okay, thank you.
And hit enter, click back in and autofill across. Okay, so like that example, or like on the homework, if you just wanted to have this row and not this second equipment row to make it positive, you would just put a negative sign, the minus sign there in front of PMT. And then instead of B3 plus B4, you would make this total B3 plus B4 plus B5. So I just kind of did both to show you that, hey, this is a negative number. It's going to screw up your total unless you make it positive. Make sense? Yes, no, maybe so. Gabby, question?
No, I just forgot to put my hand down. I'm sorry.
Jackie, question?
Nope, all good.
Okay. Bree, question?
Yeah, so just to make sure, we're not supposed to change anything with the total equation with the 8,853. Like it could still be B3 plus B4 plus B6.
Yes, but if on the homework you didn't want this, like, didn't want to change, like, have the 2 equipments, you could just put a negative in front of the PMT and then change the total, like, So basically you could do this B3 plus B4 plus B5.
Yeah.
And then just go back into B5, make that a negative. Autofill that across. And then just get rid of this stuff in B6. That's what you could do. Well, you'd have to autofill it through to not get the reference error. And you'd have the same exact thing, but you wouldn't have two equipments.
Got
Does that
it.
make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so purchase price. We're going to go back to our favorite IFS. So it costs you 50 cents for each muffin you buy if you order less than 10,000 muffins. It costs you 35 cents for each muffin you buy if your order is more than 10,000 muffins. Again, you buy in bulk, things are cheaper. So we do an ifs function here. So we have to check if we're buying more than 10,000 muffins. So you select H2, which is our number of muffins, less than 10,000. And if our value is true, we put comma, H2 times our more expensive cost. So we scroll down and select N39, make it an absolute. So this way, when we autofill over, we don't have to change it. And another comment. So what is the other thing we're checking? We did H2 less than 10,000. What do we have to check now? Austin, do you know?
Can you repeat that?
So we already checked H2 less than 10,000. What's the other thing we have to check?
I don't know.
The opposite. H2 greater than 10,000. That's the point of the ifs. We're checking to see what of our options exist. So we did H2 less than 10,000. We have to do the opposite. H2 greater than 10,000. And then comma, and if that's true, H2 is multiplied by the cheaper amount, which is down in cell N40. And we also make that an absolute, so when we autofill over, everything's fixed. And we close it with our closed parentheses. So the only one that's less than 10,000 muffins is the 5,000 muffins, correct? So that's the only one we're going to have 50 cents being paid for each muffin. The other three, we're going to pay that cheaper 35 cents. To make sure that 50 cents and the 35 cents are absolutes, so all you have to do is hit enter and then autofill over.
How do you get the ifs function again?
So you could either type it in or it is formulas logical. And if you click it up like this, you would do that the same way. H2 less than 10,000, H2 times N39 is an absolute. And then H2 greater than 10,000. And if true, H2 times N40 absolute.
Okay, thank you.
And you get the same exact answer.
If it comes up as 0, what do you think we did wrong?
If it comes up as 0, then you probably didn't put the absolutes in, or you have the formula exactly like this.
Yes. It's exactly the same.
So if H2 less than 10,000, comma,
Yep.
H2 times,
Times absolute
N-
M39, comma,
Okay,
H2
comma.
greater than 10,000, comma, H2 star absolute N40, close parentheses. They came up as 0.
So then you'd have to scroll down and see if there's anything in N39 and N40. It should have 0.5 for 50 cents and 0.35 for 35 cents.
Yeah, they're there.
Okay. The only other thing you're using is the H2. So you have a number in H2, right?
Yep.
And who is this? Gabby? You're having this
Yeah.
issue? So did you type it in or did you use the formula?
I typed it in personally.
Is anybody else having that issue? Okay, try typing it in using the formula. So go to
Okay.
formulas, logical ifs, and type it in that way. H2 less than 10,000. Then H2 times N39 absolute. H2 greater than 10,000. Then H2 times absolute of N40. And make sure you're putting the absolutes, the dollar signs in the right spots. So it's always dollar sign before the N, dollar sign before the number.
Yeah, it came up good when I used the logic formula and plugged in the same stuff. I just don't know why it wouldn't work when I did it by hand.
I don't either. It might have been the commas, something was in the wrong spot possibly. Okay, so nobody else has any issues with that? Reeves, question?
Yes, I was just wondering if you could highlight under the 5,000 beside the ingredients, just so I can see the formula again.
For purchase price?
Under the make costs, the or the 4,500. Yeah, I just
For the
wanna,
ingredients here?
yes. Is that okay? I had a different formula than that.
Okay. So initially we did this first part to see how many ounces of ingredients we
Okay.
needed. And then we looked at our table down here and multiplied it. So for each one,
Oh, I see.
it was a little different.
Okay, thank you.
So here it's D24, here it's D26, here it's D28, here it's D20. And like I said, there's always the videos in the If You Missed Class folder. So if I went too fast for you, that's perfectly fine. All right, so next we're asked to calculate the tax. So in the video, I literally just do this. If the number of muffins times 0.07, I get 350, then I autofill over. But if they're over 1,000, you change it to 1,000. So 3 of them are over 1,000. So you go in and change them all to 1,000. However, I'm sure you guys understand there's another formula that can do this without having you change everything, right? So we can do an if formula. If H2 times 7 cents is greater than 1,000, 1,000, right? Because that's what it said. If we go over 1,000, it's 1,000, right? But if it's false, it would be simply H2 times 0 cents. So if you put that if formula in like that and clicked OK, you'd get the same $350 you got before. But now if we autofill it over, it actually gives us $1,000 instead of us having to change it. See? So if we did it the other way of just multiplying by 7 cents, all 3 of these go over 1,000, as you see there. So we can do the if function to make it so that if they're over 1,000, they're just 1,000, because that's what our tax said here. If your order produces more than 1,000 in tax, the bakery will charge you a flat tax of 1,000. So that's why we did if our number of muffins times 7 cents is greater than $1,000, it's simply $1,000. Otherwise, it's whatever the number of muffins times 7 cents is. So in this case, it's $350. In every other case, we just have our flat $1,000 tax. Make sense? Yes, no, maybe so.
Yes.
Okay, who has the question? Nobody? Okay. So now we'll move on to the storage cost. And it says the bakery charges you to store the muffins. You're charged 25 cents per muffin if your order is less than 12,000, and 15 cents if your order is over 12,000. So we have the 12,000, the 25 cents, and the 15 cents in our assumptions there below. So for storage, we're going to have to use an if function. Because we have 2 different scenarios that could be possible. So first we have to check if H2 is greater than less than our 12,000, which you do absolute cell reference to Q44. If that's the case, You multiply H2, your number of muffins, by the absolute of Q43, which is our more expensive amount. But if H2 is greater than our absolute in Q44, then we multiply H2 by the cheaper amount, which is in cell R43, and make that an absolute. Does everybody understand that? So again, if you're just checking one thing, it's either true or false. Ifs, you can check multiple things. So for example, if you wanted to compute your final grade, you could use an ifs statement and say, hey, you know, if my grade is a 93 or above, it's an A. If it's a 90 or above, but below a 93, it's an A minus. So everybody has that set up like this, and we can click OK. So once you click OK, you should get 2,500, excuse me, 1,250, and auto fill it across. 2,250 for 15,000 muffins, 3,750 for 25,000 muffins, and 7,500 for the 50,000. Okay, everybody's with me so far? Now we'll do the last part of the muffins practice. We basically just have to find out, should we make the muffins ourselves or buy them based on the cost? So again, we want to use an ifs function. So we're testing for two different things. So here we want to see, is B7 greater than H7? So if our make cost is greater than our buy cost, what do we want to do? Buy, because it's cheaper. Yep. And then the opposite must be true. B7 less than H7. And that would be make. So what happens when you click OK? Which word comes up?
Buy.
Yep. And then for the 15,000, you could do ifs, what is it, C7 greater than I7 by, comma, C7 less than I7, comma, make. And go ahead and do that for the other three and see what comes up for them. You should get one answer for all of them. And that answer is buy. If you did it right, all of them will say buy. Everyone got by for all of them? Or you're still a little ways to go? Okay, so once you finished up your buyers or make with your muffins, open up the apartments example, and I'm gonna have you do the largest and average formulas real quick because it's already 3:45. So in cell B12, type in equals max. And do the range of B10 colon D10, which will give us our highest monthly profit once we finish that example. And then in cell B13, do the average of those three profits. So average B10 colon D10. Okay. So everybody's now done with the muffins and caught up. Yeah, do the little thumbs up like Jackie.
Yeah, can you just show the two equations again for the highest monthly profit and average again, just for like 2 seconds?
Yep. So for largest, it's just max equals max for B10 through D10, which is our three profits here that eventually we'll calculate. And then the average monthly profit is just the same, but with average instead of max. So if it says largest, it just means max. If it says smallest, it just means min. Basically, a lot of the formulas in Excel are based on math terms. Okay, so everybody's got that and did the muffins. Give it a little thumbs up. As people are dropping like flies from the attendees. Okay, so like I said, the videos also has all this stuff. The only difference I said in the videos is for the tax for the muffins. So I did an if formula here. All right, so since it's already 10 to 4, I am going to spare you guys the assumptions, but they're all below there. You could read them. And like I said, with the homeworks, you're basically just going to go through and change the assumptions as you need to. So to calculate monthly rent, we're given a formula down here that you could read through. I'm just going to put the formula in so we get done in a reasonable amount of time today. All right, so equals parentheses, the absolute of E30 times E22 plus parentheses, the absolute of E31 times E19. And then multiply that by D22 and close parentheses. And again, it's based on this formula below here in A29 that's listed. And then the D22 represents the number of apartments for the one-bedroom complex. Okay. So everybody's got that? Hopefully. Okay. So when you hit enter, you get this big amount. And you'll notice that our largest and average changes because we already put a formula there. All right, so autofill this across and you'll notice you get $0 for both. That's because we have to change the non-absolutes. So click in cell C2 and change the F22 to E23. Change the F19 to E20. And change the E22 to D23. And then when you click enter, the 0 turns into an actual number. Then
Can you
click
show a monthly rent equation one more time for the one bedroom?
Yep. So it's the absolute of E30 times E22 plus the absolute of E31 times E19 times D22. So it's basically this formula down here, and then you multiply it by the number of rooms, or apartments rather.
Thank you.
For the first one, it's D22, then it's D23, then it's D24. Okay, so we did C2 after auto-filling over. Again, it's E23, E20, and D23. For D2, we changed the G22, E24, the G19, the E21, and the F22 to D24. And you're going to notice that the one bedroom has more because it's 50 apartments you're renting than 30 apartments and 10 apartments. So then we have our monthly state rebate, which is described below here in 833. So we need to do a nested function. In this example, we're going to do an OR inside of an if. So we do equals if or E19 greater than the absolute of E34 or E22 greater than the absolute of F34. If true, then we do the absolute of G33. If false, no, G34, I'm sorry. And if false, we do the absolute of H34. So true is the $85, false is the $95. But then we multiply that by D2. Excuse me, D22. Which again is our number of apartments. And when you hit enter and autofill over, we have to change again. So F19 becomes E20. F22 becomes E23. And E22 becomes D23. And then for the last one, G19 becomes E21. G22 becomes E24. And F22 becomes D24.
Professor, can you go
Yes.
back to the monthly state rebate really quick? Because I got a 0. Yeah, just take a quick look. Okay, thank you.
No problem. And again, like I said, you can always click if you missed class. And literally the videos are in here to look through if you need to. So if I'm kind of going too fast because I'm trying to get us done by 4:30, you're more than welcome to go through that. So then you auto fill it over, and like I said, you change these two formulas with anything that's not a absolute. E20, E23, D23, and E21, E24, D24. Okay, so for the monthly exercise room fees, we do the absolute of E26 times C22 times D22. So in this example, I'm assuming there's one person living in every room. On the homework, you don't have to do that. So you would only multiply it by the D22, the 50 apartments. I'm assuming each person has a room in those apartments and is going to be using the exercise room. Again, that's absolute of E26 times C22 times D22. When you autofill that over, it should be for the second one, D23 and D23. And then for the last one, it should be C24 and D24. Make sense? All we're doing is changing our rooms and apartments. So like I said, on the homework, you would have just used the D part. Because in the homework, it doesn't make the same assumption that I did of everybody's living in a room. Okay. Give you guys a minute or two to catch up with those. Give the little thumbs up if you're ready. This way I know who we're waiting on. All right, who have I not called on today? Malik, I need to find a monthly loan payment. What function am I going to use? Mike, do you want to help him? Okay, it looks like Jay's got the answer. Jay?
Would it be the ifs function?
We're trying to calculate a monthly loan payment.
It will be the payment PMT, right?
Yep. So anytime you hear payment, think PMT. So you could do formulas, financial, PMT, or simply type it in. So our rate is the absolute of E35. It's in that cell. Our number of payments is the absolute of F35 multiplied by 12. There's 12 months in a year, right? Then our present value is E19 times E40. So we're going to do the trick here. We don't want this to be a negative number like it's going to be. We want it to be a positive, right? So when you click OK, click back into the cell and put a minus sign in front of the PMT. Because I'm sure you guys learned in like 3rd grade maybe that a negative times a negative is a positive. So now when you click enter, that becomes a positive number. So it should be equals negative sign PMT, absolute of E35, comma, absolute of F35 times 12, comma, E19 times B40. So go ahead and autofill them over. They'll get zero but dollars for each. Excuse me. That's because you need to change F19 to E20 and C40 to B41. Once you do that, you should have a positive number that is not zero. And then for the last one, you change G19 to E21 and D40 to B42. Again, once you hit enter, you should have a positive number that is above zero. Actually, that's B41, not B42. That's why I still had zero. And there we go. Okay, so again, E20 for 2-bedroom times B41, and then E21 times B41 for the 3-bedroom.
I have a random question.
Okay.
When I put like stuff in that's like a half, like 10.5 or something of the sort, it like rounds up. Is that supposed to happen?
So you can simply change that by right-clicking, format cells, and whether it's currency or number, it might say 1 decimal place or 0 decimal places. You could change it. Basically, the only time you'll need it is currency, 2 places. But when you're using numbers, it's usually set as default as 2. If your numbers are completely off, then make sure to change the decimal places. Because you don't want, like, for example, this to say like 2 million, because everything's rounded up. All right, monthly taxes formula. Again, we're basing all this on the assumptions below that I didn't want to bore you guys with because it's probably the longest class we've had so far. All right, so we need to do an absolute of E45 times the absolute of D45. And then add B2 minus so put a double open parentheses there. B2 minus the absolute of G45, close parentheses, and then multiply that by the absolute of F45 and close parentheses. So again, equals open parentheses, the absolute of E45 times the absolute of D45 plus B2 minus the absolute of G45 times the absolute of F45. So this makes it, when we hit enter and autofill over, we don't have to change anything because the B2 will change to C2 and then to D2. So give a little thumbs up and everybody's good with that. Okay. It looks like everybody's good with that. So we hit enter and autofill over. Everything's good. And we can move on to monthly maintenance. So the maintenance, we did an if or before for the monthly state debate. That was because it said if total size is greater than or. For the maintenance, it says exceeds 25,000 square feet and income is greater than. So this time we're going to do a nested function of an and inside of an if. Usually on the exams, and I'll point this out when we do the review, it will literally give you these specific words. And you'll have to look at them and say, oh, okay, this should be an and or an or nested inside an if. So we do if and E19 greater than the absolute of E49 and B5 greater than the absolute of F49 comma, if it's true, we do E9 multiplied by, or E19 rather, multiplied by the absolute of G49. If it's false, we do E19 multiplied by the absolute of H49. Everybody sees that formula?
Yes.
So once you hit enter, autofill it over. For the 2-bedroom, change all of the E19s to E20. And then for the 3-bedroom, change all of the E19s to E21. And I'll show you that here. So click enter and autofill across. You get 0 for both. So change F19 to E20. in all three instances. So this one here is E19. The second one, they're all E20. And then the last one, they're all E21. E21 here. E21 here. E21 here. Okay. So again, you copy and autofill this formula over. Everywhere it has an E19 here, 1, 2, 3. For the second one, you change to E20. And for the third one, you change to E21. So thumbs up when everybody's got that done. And then we'll do the build or do not build. And then I'll quickly run through the 2 homework options and everybody will be good to go. All right, I got at least a few thumbs up, so I'll go over. All right, so here where it says build or do not build, we need to create an if function. So in order for us to determine if we want to build or not, we have to see if the profit is going to be greater than the cost. So we do a simple if function. If B10, which is our profit, is greater than B9, our cost, comma, quote, build, close quote. So if that's the case, if there's more profit for these apartment complexes than there is cost, then we want to build them because we're going to make money. But if it's false, quote, do not build, close quote, and close parentheses. So who hasn't been called on today? Austin, what comes up when you hit enter? Build or do not build?
I got do not build.
You got do not build. If B10 greater than B9, build. If not, do not build. So you got do not build? Did you put the formula in backwards? If B10 greater than B9, build. Otherwise, do not build.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it did actually.
So when you autofill over, I think all of them should say build. Because in every case, the profit is more than the cost. 34 million is more than 5 million. 27 million is more than 4 million. 8 million is more than 3 million, right? Now, of course, these could be influenced if you didn't go through and do the monthly maintenance or the taxes or the payment or any of the other formulas because I went too quick. But like I said, you could always refer back to the YouTube video there and it'll walk you through it. All right, so before we check you out for the evening or week rather, same as the last 2 class sections, you have 2 options of homework to do. 3A is the make or buy analysis, basically the same thing as the muffins, but this time there's brownies. And you'd go through this paper and change all the assumptions in that file. or in the practice file. For 3B, it's an apartment project. You can download the apartment file here because it has everything in it, or you could use the example, but make sure you go through all of the assumptions and make sure you change all of them appropriately. So some of these things, like last week's restaurant asked about conditional formatting. If I haven't taught it to you yet, don't worry about it. So for example, here it says use text wrapping for column headings that are too wide. Don't worry about that because I haven't taught you text wrapping yet. I'm pretty sure that'll be the last Excel assignment where I go over conditional formatting, charts, and different stuff like that. All right, so again, that'll be due Sunday at 11:59. I think, Erin, you emailed me today with your homework 2A, so I'll have to look at that momentarily. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, I was just wondering, so we just have to go in for the homework Excel 3A and just change the numbers from the practice one we did earlier? There's no actual Excel file for 3A?
No. So you would go in and it would basically give you all this info. So like the ingredients table, you change the numbers to what it says for the homework here. You change the 30 seconds to make one brownie. So where I had 60, you'd put 120. Where I had $15 an hour, you'd put $12.50, et cetera, with all of the assumptions here.
Okay.
And you'll see they pretty much all line up. And then the apartment example has a file here that's like this. But like I said, you could use the example from class and just, again, change based on the assumptions listed. Because like I said, this does not look as neat and, good to go as the example we just did in class. So, for the homework, you could use this example for the second one too, and then just change your assumptions here. Make sense? All right. Well, if there are no other questions, I will leave all of you to it. And like I said, I hope to be back in person next week and hopefully the rest of the semester.
Have a good day, Professor.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good one.
Thank you.
Professor?
Yes.
Hi, it's Bishoy.
Okay.
Hi, yeah, so for like the past two classes, let me try to get it. Yeah, so for the past two classes, there was like a problem with like the registrar. Like I wasn't sure if I was like registered. Because so on Blackboard, I'd get like the updates, but my schedule for like the shoe, like the scene hall would like the app, like you weren't there. So I didn't know if I would go or not. But it's a good thing because they just fixed it for me. So I'm actually like updated. I'm good now for the class.
Okay.
Um, I think for like the past two like assignments, like I was like kind of like lost in a way. I was looking at like your template, and I thought like for example, like the last assignment, I thought I would like randomize like the numbers and then just calculate based off that. But I didn't know if the
No,
disconnect.
So basically, where is it? So basically, we're gonna have an Excel exam on the 17th, right? So on the 3rd, we're gonna do a practice for the exam. So all we're doing the first 4 classes is literally, I give you an example in class, and then the homework is similar to it, but not exact. So like today we did the muffins. One of the homework options is brownies. We did the apartment calculator, and then there's a similar homework to that. You pick one or the other. So for that, the restaurant one, we did the survey example in class. And then the assignment was to download this restaurant one and simply do the calculations that it asked for that we did in class. So you would just do like an average. So yours kind of basically changed everything. So there wasn't really anything I could do about it. But if you can like give me an email from the registrar, what I can do is give you like an extra couple days to make it up and like do it right. Basically, all you would do is go back into last week's folder, download this survey example, click on if you missed class, watch this survey tutorial here.
Okay.
And you still have the restaurant file you downloaded from assignments? Or do you want me to email this to you?
No, I can find it myself. Like I've always had this stuff, but I wasn't sure if I was doing this now or I'm just mistakenly there because I wasn't in the teams, I don't think, as well. But
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
Okay.
last week we went face to face, so I've been having some issues with my leg and can't, long story short, a medical issue with my leg, and my department chair has basically been like, if it acts up, don't drive, don't risk getting in an accident, just teach remotely. So,
Of course, of course.
well,
I
if
wish
you,
you was
like I said, if you have any questions with that and want to make that up, just like basically have the registrar shoot me an email confirming that what you just said, and then I'll have no issues working with that. And you can make that up.
okay, no worries. And also I'm a DSS student, so I'm gonna make sure that I send you the proper paperwork. So
Okay.
yeah.
It's mostly like need more time for exams, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, mainly.
Okay, so basically what I told everybody the first class, the only exam that really requires any effort in this class, there used to be 3. There was an Excel exam, an Access exam, and then an Excel and IT exam. So for the 3rd exam, I got rid of that, and it's just an Excel assignment and an IT quiz now. The Access exam, basically, I have you guys set it up in class beforehand, and then you just go through. But I hope to be on campus both for the 2 exams days, the first Excel exam and the Access exam day. I have another class that goes 5 to 7:30. And then I basically hang out for a half hour if they have any questions. And then about 8:30, I go over to the student center or the Mike Subs there on campus and get dinner. So I basically told everybody, don't stress about this. Basically, you'd have until 8:30 when I get up and decide to go get dinner to do it, if you needed that long. The Excel exam, sometimes people bleed into the 5 o'clock class. The Access exam, you guys will probably be done in an hour. So
Okay, so do we take it in class or is that after?
if I'm on campus, it'll all be done in class, yeah. I'm hoping, like I said, to be face to face the rest of the semester.
Okay, yeah, no worries. I mean, if it's like that, I'm not sure how long because I'm not good with the Excel, but I'm obviously gonna try my best to like the best of my ability. But if anything, I just take it in their office and I'd set it up with like the system through that.
Yeah, I think they need like a week's notice. So
Yes.
on the 3rd, we're gonna do an in-class review of it. Then the 10th, you guys have off for fall break. You get that Monday and that Tuesday, they give you off. So it would have to be like sometime that week of the 3rd that you'd have to let them know.
Okay. No
Because,
worries.
they gotta have me send them the instructions and the paperwork. But the reason I like to have everybody do it in class is, say somebody's struggling for like 2.5 hours and it's 4:30 and they just have no clue. I can give them, quote unquote tips or secrets. Like I mentioned earlier in class, there's definitely going to be a VLOOK nearest match and a VLOOKUP exact match. But I think it depends on the example. There's like 8 different versions of the exam we could choose to give. So I pick one, do it as a in-class like review basically. So some of them have, like, you'll multiply the VLOOKUP by something. So I usually will give people like clues. This way they're not sitting there for, 5 hours doing it. If they have an issue. And a lot of times I try to set up like the columns too.
Okay.
This way people know, oh, I have to use like left here in this column.
Okay. Yeah. No worries. I appreciate it though. I'm gonna resend the 2 assignments like complete. I'm gonna go over the videos again and just make sure I'm following you A to Z. I'll just
Okay.
resend it to you. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Professor. Enjoy. I appreciate it. Have a great day. Feel
You
safe.
too.
All right, man. Bye.
Bye-bye.